Welcome back, everybody. You're looking at the 3A bracket in North Dakota high school football. The quarterfinals begin on Friday. Legacy and Cheyenne, Shanley and Bismarck on one side, West Fargo and Minot. In the bottom right, seems like they play every year in the playoffs. Mandan and Davies. We'll have that game for you on WDAY Plus coming up on Friday night, part of a huge high school football weekend. Braves are getting set for another matchup with the Eagles. Our pleasure to welcome back to our show, Mandan head football coach Todd Sheldon joins us on this Wednesday morning. It's great to see you. We were just joking off air. I think I can count on my hand the amount of times you guys have played in the playoffs. You can just almost write it down, right? That you're going to see Davies.
It seems like it's we're gonna get a chance to go to Fargo for a playoff game. It's 5 out of the last 6 years now.
Man, first, congrats on the year. Tell us about how this season has played out, and is this what you thought your team would be? Have you overachieved? Tell me about 2024.
You know, we sat down and we talked about the kids we've had come back into the program that have been here the whole time, and how our expectations for those kids have been super high. You know, whether it's Tristan Ulmer or Jensen Schultz or Hudson Sheldon, our expectations for those three in particular were off the charts. But the rest of the kids have been phenomenal this year. I think we've really hit it out of the ballpark with their production through the season. And then some of it's been due to injuries that we've gotten to see kids that we really didn't expect to see play a lot, and they've been outstanding.
You don't need me to remind you here. You have 3 losses by what, a combined 10 points. I mean, that probably doesn't make you feel any better about how the season has gone. But does that say, okay, we're trending in a way where we're a couple plays away from winning those games?
You know, and I think in those games that we've lost, it's been turnovers. We haven't taken care of the ball the way we should, and you know, defenses make great plays. And the last play of the BHS game, kid barely tips it with his finger, and it just knocks it out of reach, and 2 inches away from winning a game. And that it seems like that's kind of where we've been at in those losses, is we're 2 inches away.
You mentioned you're playing Davies again. You saw him during the season. You've been down this road before when you've played him during the regular season and lost and then got him. What is the difference in your mind the second time around when you're seeing a team that you saw maybe a few weeks ago? Why the difference, Todd, in your mind?
Probably our biggest difference is there's nothing left that we're going to leave behind. Like, we'll pull out all the stops. There's not a thing that we're going to leave a chance to. We think we might be able to sneak one by here, there, or anywhere. That's probably going to happen. And I know Davies over the years has traditionally run some kind of a trick play, and you don't leave anything in the tank for that last one. So there's nothing going to be saved.
When you see them, Davies, I'm talking about, what stands out? What stood out to you from that first time that you played them?
Man, they're physical. They're big. They're physical. Their running backs are big. Their running backs are physical. There's not a kid who shies away from contact on that entire team.
And I don't know if it's easier or harder to prepare knowing they don't throw the ball. Is it easier or harder to game plan against that?
Our defensive coaches, and we've got 4 guys who put a lot of input into our defensive stuff. Coach Swan and Elkins and Pollock and Reese Hortz do a ton of stuff with our defensive game planning. So those guys have probably lost more sleep than I have over the last 72 hours trying to figure out what to do about they're not going to pass, and do you play kids who cover the pass? And yeah, we'll get a little exotic with them too. So I think the last couple of weeks everybody's going to be exotic with what they do with Davies.
Wait, how did the WDA play? It seemed like everybody was pretty tight this year with Minot, you guys, Bismarck, Legacy. Did it play out like you thought? There was some always tight games. Was it how this fall, what you thought would you see out of the WDA?
Yeah, I wish I could say almost exactly and mean it like exactly, but
yeah,
how we finished is kind of how I thought we'd finish, but it didn't happen the way I thought it would.
How you got there. Yeah.
How we ended up in this place isn't a normal scenario. Legacy looked amazing against Century, and then Century looked amazing against BHS, and we played solid games against Legacy and Century, and we were not on our game against BHS. So, it stacked up the way I kind of thought it would, but at the same time, no.
The level of football right now in the state, where you've been around forever. Describe where we're at right now, talent-wise, what you're seeing across in 3A football.
Probably the biggest thing is how well offensive and defensive line play has gotten, how solid that part of the game has been. This year I think as far as pass game and that sort of offense, I think we're down a little bit. I don't know if that's because we don't have a ton of stellar throwers or if kids aren't catching the ball, but I know with Davies and BHS and Century and Minot, West Fargo, Cheyenne, all those teams are just absolutely pounding the rock. Yeah. And it makes you be physical. Like if you're not physical, you're not going to win those games.
Yeah, you're right. The line play is just gargantuan, isn't it now?
Now there are, we got 3 or 4 kids that are looking at, big time D1 offers for line play. As said, everybody else has to rise up to play against those kids week in and week out. And they're dragging some kids who might not be that physical up to that standard. So it's good to see them.
Speaking of a guy that played physical football, I thought of you immediately. We're in Boulder, Colorado. I see Jackson Dutenheffer sacking Shedeur Sanders. There's something I don't think anybody would have thought of saying a couple years ago. When you saw that, tell me your emotion when you saw him do that back in August.
Anytime he does anything, it's just duty on full volume, and you're screaming at the TV and scaring the crap out of all the people around you. And it's a good time. I like it. There's not, there's a lot of kids I'm happy for their success in life. Dutenheffer's a kid who's earned every bit of it, and he shows up every day, does exactly what you want him to do. Just a great individual. So he's extra easy to cheer for.
Was there I asked you this, I know when he committed, but give us maybe the backstory of when you first saw him and say, what was different about him, Todd, when you first noticed him?
The first time I noticed him, I think he was playing like 9U baseball, and he absolutely shot a bomb out of the softball fields at that part. And the way that field is set up, there's a fence and then another fence. Yeah. And tanked one, and you're like, what kid did that? It's like, oh, it's a 12-year-old or whatever, and like playing 9U, and then he ran the bases faster than everybody else. You're like, oh, that kid's different. And then I get the pleasure of knowing his dad and family for a long time, so it's been very joyful to get to watch his progress as a human being. To see him now playing as much as he's playing on the Bison defensive line and having the impact he's had. A couple years ago, he got thrown into the Wolves as a redshirt freshman. Describe what you've seen him as, how he's developed as a player since he got to Fargo. We talk to kids who get the opportunity to go play college football about how that transition takes place and how much different it is. And I think he really grasps that understanding of how that transition is going to go and how, in some aspects, college football practices are easier than high school football practices. And on the mental side of it, it's mountainous differences. Yeah. He has to know so much more playing his position than he did in high school. But at the same time, we were making him play 170 plays a game in high school. So I know there was a practice that he lost like 12 pounds in a practice. So he came and said, hey, we might want to do a better hydration job. And said, my kid sweats like unbelievable. So I like, yeah, we'll have to manage that. But like, those are the big transition things, though. He's handled it as well as anybody I can imagine.
Did you ever consider throwing him the ball? Did you ever do that?
We got him dual numbers for a while, yeah. So we had a number for him to change into, but our jerseys were too small, so he would have missed 10 plays just switching jerseys. Yeah. To be able to catch a ball. We did hand it to him a few times.
I remember. I wasn't sure if you ever threw it to him. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
So you have to have a legal number to catch a pass. Yeah. So we thought about it, but we also thought that's going to take a lot of effort. Oh. We can't miss that kid for 10 plays.
No. He got married this off season. Was that like the biggest thing in the most recent time? Was everybody there?
Well, it ended up being a blizzard.
Yeah, he told that's right.
They closed interstates and stuff. So I know a few of us were going to carpool down there, and then I don't know how everybody's wives are, but mine hit the panic button and we got shut down. But I know a lot of guys. The pictures from the place were awesome.
Yeah, that's right. He told me that.
Yeah, we had a I had more fun celebrating, looking at all the pictures
Yeah.
than I do at most weddings that I actually go to. So don't tell my wife.
Before I let you go, tell me about you've been doing this a while, like pregame speech for Friday. Is this a Newt Rockne fire up one, or hey, we know what we got in front of us. Let's just go out there and do it.
We have had a pretty long-standing tradition idea that the kids are going to take care of themselves. I don't give a lot of speeches. I know we have the defensive coaches say a little bit, but my speech to the kids is the same every single week. You play for the people in the room next to you. Get yourselves prepared. Make somebody proud of your effort and your level of play today. I'm like, it's on you kids. Go. This is your game. I'm just here to enjoy it.
That's pretty good. It's great to see you, bud. Thanks so much for doing this morning. Good luck on Friday, okay? Thanks for the time, all right?
I appreciate it. See ya.
Good to see you, bud. There he goes.
Tell Myron to get a football program started.
I'll pass the message along. Todd Sheldon joining us, Mandan head football coach. Braves take the trip to Davies. That'll be part of our big Friday night. We got we'll highlight all the games coming up at the Dome on the Minnesota side of things. We're also bringing you 2 North Dakota games on Friday night. And that bracket, how it played out in 3A football this year. And we went back, as we talked about late last week, with its top 4 in each side of the state after a couple years of 1 through 8, which was fine. They decided to do away with that. But these 2 teams, Todd mentioned it, 4 of the last 6 years they've played in the playoffs. These 2 teams know each other quite well. I imagine it's going to be a dynamite football game on Friday. We'll break. We come back. We'll wrap up hour 1. Big second hour, as your Todd said. Myron Scholes will join us from Bismarck State about their moving up to the NAIA and the Frontier Conference. Back on Hot Mic right after this.